slobbery kisses in their wake. Kara swallowed hard as the flash of a memory faded, and the man standing before her, looking as shocked as she felt, came back into view. She downed the liquor, slammed the glass against the bar, and sighed before she announced, "I've been looking for you for 27 years. He sank onto the vacant stool next to her and lifted his hands as if he were at a loss for words. Something that appeared to be guilt filled his eyes and made his full lips sag into a frown. She'd be damned if temptation didn't hit her as hard as it had when she was a hormonal teen. "I wanted to tell you I was leaving," he said, "but I didn't know how." "You should have tried something like, 'Kara, I'm leaving.'" "You're right, but I was a kid. I didn't have a lot of common sense. All I could think about was how I finally had my freedom." She tilted her head and narrowed her eyes at him. "You had your freedom? You selfish prick." His eyes widened. "Well, that might be a little harsh. I was just a kid, Kara. Yes, I should have told you I had no intention of staying with you, but I was a little overwhelmed by what had happened. I'm sorry." "You're sorry?" Harry's shoulders slumped as if he had given up justifying sneaking out on her in the middle of the night. "Look, I saw a flyer for your gallery opening, and I wanted to say hello. I thought maybe... I don't know what I was thinking." He sounded hurt, dejected even. "I didn't mean to upset you." Harry stood and Kara put her hand to his chest and shoved him back onto the bar stool. The move instantly reminded her of their one night together. All of 17 and totally inexperienced, she'd fancied herself a seductress and pushed him onto the bed before straddling his hips like she had a clue what she was doing. As she touched his chest now, warmth radiated through her entire body. She glared, pulling her hand away and squeezing her fingers into a fist. "Do you live in Seattle?" He shook his head. "I had a conference in town. There were flyers at the hotel. As soon as I saw your picture, I knew I had to come." His smile returned and excitement lit his face. "I can't believe you have a gallery opening. This is amazing, Care." She wasn't nearly as thrilled by her accomplishment as he seemed to be. She felt like she was selling her soul instead of her art. She'd always preferred the indie route, but that crap agent had cornered her at a particularly vulnerable moment and convinced her she needed him, just like he'd convinced her she needed to be in a gallery. Although now she was glad she'd conceded on the open bar. The tequila swirled through her, making her muscles tingle and preventing her from fully engaging the nearly 3 decades of anger she'd been harboring. She had spent an awfully long time wanting to give Harry Canton a piece of her mind. Even so, hearing him say she'd done something amazing warmed her in a way very little ever had. If he had come looking for another one-night stand, she hated to admit that she would consider reliving that night again, only this time with more sexual experience and less expectation of him sticking around. He might be almost 3 decades older, but his face was still handsome, and his brown eyes were just as inviting as they had been when he was a high school prodigy and she was a wallflower. She smirked at a realization. He was in a suit, probably having just left a corporate meeting, while she was wearing a red, sari-inspired dress at her gallery opening. He was still the straight arrow. She was still the eccentric artist. "Did you hear what I said, Harry? About looking for you for the last 27 years? His shoulders sagged. "I never meant to sleep with you that night. I mean," he quickly lifted his hands, "I was leaving and should have told you before taking you upstairs. I shouldn't have just left like that, but I didn't think you wanted to see me again anyway." "If it's any consolation," he said, giving her a smile that softened the rough edges of her anger. "I'd been working up the courage to kiss you since junior year, when you squeezed a tube of red paint in Mitch Friedman's hair."